What's it? Start? Thank you. Okay, so let's focus on this one. You should write it down. Romantic poetry, and I think it's today is 28/1022. That's lecture 1. So it's a romantic period, okay? This is the timeline, and always remember it's a movement. Clear? It's a movement, huh? Well, I'll be repeating just 1 minute. Then you have Shelley, Keats. Then you have Byron. They are known as late romantics. Okay. Are you done with that? Okay, quick. Not have much time. So romantic poetry and Coleridge, Coleridge, Coleridge. Okay. So it's a movement basically. It started in 785 and ended up in 1832. Okay, so Robert Burns is the first one who coined the term. And then you have William Blake, who is known to be the founder. And then Wordsworth and Coleridge, the first age romantics, established the movement. And then you have late romantics, Shelley, Keats, and Byron. Okay, so how many poets? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this 7 is very famous. So if the question comes in that way for you, like, what is the romantic period and who are the main poets of that romantic age? So you should mention in that way. Clear? Okay. Done, everyone? Quick. What is your copy, Ibrahim? Next class, make sure you have it.
Sir, last slide.
Which one? This one? Late romantics, late, L-A-T-E. Done, everyone? Quick. So now let's focus on the lecture. Now, who can be a romantic? That's the question now. Or who wants to be a romantic? That might be a question as well. Romantic can be anyone. And there's no definition of that romanticism particularly. You can be romantic too. If you see a ghost, and if you believe in ghosts, it might be called as romantic as well. You love nature, you're also romantic. Someone loves killing someone, doing a murder, he can be romantic because he romanticizes that fantasy of killing or murdering. Someone who is inclined to the commandments of God, he can be romantic too. It has no definition actually. Someone who loves stealing or robbery, he can be romantic too because he loves it. Someone who loves to betray, he can be romantic too because he loves betraying. Are you getting me? Yes. So everything that you see, like we cannot define romanticism because human beings they have indefinite passion. They have, you cannot just limit the passion of human beings into a bottle of water. You cannot do so. And we can't even do so. So the problem is like when we read Wordsworth, like he says, fill the page with the breathing of your heart. And if you just write this line, fill the page with the breathings of your heart. If you write this line, and I think that sums up all the things. Fill the page with the breathings of your heart. Fill the page with the breathings mani hoche nishash, with the breathings of your heart. Now, yes, with the breathings of your heart. Now, if you are just thinking of this line, now you find that like romanticism may be something inclined to your heart. It says you to translate the language of your heart, and you are going to fill the page, meaning that it's not that page that you are thinking of. It's the vacant mood of the mind. It's called like something like, you want to fill your mind with the language of your heart. This is what romanticism is. But romanticism, when it started with William Blake, meaning that he started it with you, and he started it for you, William Blake, and in some cases you call like he's the father of romantics, William Blake. And now he came up with two analogy, meaning that something like, now think of a lamb. Do you know what's a lamb?
Yes.
And think of a tiger. Yes. Do you know what's a tiger? Yes. Okay. Now when you think of a lamb, now what do you remind of?
It's so innocent.
It's so innocent, right? The lamb. Now even if you think of a goat, it's so innocent, right? And now if you think of a tiger, it's so ferocious. Ferocious, right? And it's so, now he says that the innocence of a human being is like a lamb. And when he gets up, when he becomes matured, he becomes like a tiger. Because he starts to experience all the vulgarity, all the vulgar things of the universe. And he becomes so ferocious. It's not that people become ferocious because he wants to become ferocious. No. It's the situation that makes you bound to become ferocious. You don't become ferocious by yourself. You don't commit a murder because you wanted to commit a murder. No. Maybe you were bound to do so. So William Blake gives you a comparison here. When you're young and a baby and a child, you are like a lamb, an innocent lamb, a beautiful lamb. And when you start to grow up, you become like a matured human being. You start to commit sins. You start to do mistakes. And then you become like a tiger. Why it's like a tiger? So does it mean that the tiger is not innocent? Yes, it's innocent. But when it's hungry and when he wants to dominate, he becomes ferocious. And if you want to survive, you cannot survive like a lamb. How many times do you see that a tiger is being slaughtered? We don't see that. But how many times do you see that a lamb is slaughtered? All the time, daily. Why? Because it's easy to kill the innocence, but it's very difficult to kill your ferociousness of the heart. You get me? So then it comes for, then, Coleridge came and Wordsworth came. And Wordsworth says that, well, the poetry shouldn't be for a group of people. It should be for the mass people. It should be for the farmers. It should be for anyone who loves to read poem. Clear? Then he says that the poem is a feeling, it's an emotion and a spontaneous feeling, like a flowing of a spring that comes on and you start to write it down. It's a feeling, a spontaneous feeling. And then it becomes, and then he says that how you can remain good on this earth. Because William Blake already made a comparison that this universe is like a tiger, it's like a jungle where you have to live like a tiger. Look, the tiger lives alone and the tiger remains the king of the jungle. Why? Because he knows how to establish his kingdom. And if you want to survive in this universe, you have to know actually how to survive in this universe by establishing your what? Your power. Exercising your power, right? Now, Wordsworth says, and Coleridge, they are two friends. That's why, I gave it a plus sign, because they are two friends. They together published a book in 1798, preface to lyrical ballads. Clear? And then in this book, they come up with so many poems, and then they come up with the ideas. What should be the criteria of a poem? And he says that the language of the poem should be simple so that people can understand. But later on, if you start to read the Victorian, you'll be finding that the poem is becoming so difficult to understand. And if you read T.S. Eliot, it's much more difficult to understand. It's very difficult to understand. Because modern people, now they have defined it as like, because the emotions are so complex, we cannot define the emotion, so the language of the emotion should be difficult too. And that's why you'll find that in the modern language, the English, in the poem, in the novel, we're using so many jargon words like nature, like the normal human being, they don't perceive the idea why we are using these jargon words. But in the Romantic periods, if you read William Wordsworth or Coleridge, like it's so simple, so easy to understand, because they were writing for the mass people. You get me? So in the preface to lyrical ballads, Wordsworth and Coleridge say that they will come up with a movement and they will be calling you back to the nature. But it's not only back to the nature, but there is another thing. Coleridge believes that if you start committing sins, because Coleridge was addicted to affine, that you call, like, because he was so much addicted to that. And when he was having affine, and he just produced his best work, Kubla Khan, the best work of Coleridge. And there's another best work he had written, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, which is read all around. Like if you are, whoever you are, you have to read The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. So he says that, you know what, if you start committing sins, because as you grow up, you commit so many sins, you just cross the boundary of God, and then you start to pollute your heart, and then you become a human being that cannot get closer to the nature. But Wordsworth says that, well, yes, we cannot get closer to the nature, but we can do one thing. And this is like, if you start repenting and you appreciate the beauty of the nature, you can go close to the God and close to the nature too. So they have different ideas. Coleridge believes that I committed so many sins, and we'll be finding he wrote another poem, Dejection. In this poem, he says that, I committed so many sins, and I believe that God will never forgive me because I cannot appreciate the beauty of moon anymore. I cannot appreciate the beauty of nature anymore. And you'll be finding that those people who wants to just lead a sinless life, you'll be finding that they are too much committed with the nature. They love to visit. They love to travel. But Wordsworth believes, he says that, like I think you have read this poem, or even if you haven't read that, I think you heard it. I wandered lonely as cloud. Right? And he also says that 10,000 I saw at a glance, tossing their heads and dancing. He saw 10,000 daffodils. Like, you're finding all the nature are coming into this poem. And then again, this shackle of romanticism is broken by Keats and Shelley. Shelley was an atheist. He proclaimed that I'm an atheist. But look, these two poets, they were a believer. And they used to believe that to remain good on this earth, you have to commit less sins. And you have to be so connected with the nature. But Shelley is someone who was somehow, he wasn't like a believer. He wasn't completely an atheist. Okay? He used to believe in the power. And he just changed the romanticism, a shift. There's a shift in his poem. And he believes that like romanticism is something like, it has to be like that. That's why he wrote a poem with the pharaoh. And his another poem like West Wind to a Skylark. Like these poems are the best example of his atheism. And then you come with the Keats. Keats is someone like who died at the age of 25, was really a great romantic. If you just start, like have you heard the word, beauty is truth, truth is beauty?
Yes, sir.
A thing of beauty is joy forever. Have you heard of that? Anyone? No? You haven't heard of this. It means that none of you are romantic, by the way. You never use that word. It has to be like a thing of beauty is joy forever, meaning that when you see a beautiful thing, it gives you always joy. And beauty is truth, and truth is what? Beauty. It's written by Keats. Do you know? How old was he actually? He died at the age of 25. He couldn't produce more work like that. His famous poem, Ode to a Nightingale, is famous one, and Ode to a Grecian Urn, which we'll be reading, is a famous work. Keats, when he was living actually, he wanted to become famous, but he has some problem. He has tuberculosis. And that's why he couldn't go on. So that's why he wanted to be famous during his age, but he couldn't become. And that's, in his tombstone, it's written something like that. Here lies the one whose name is written on the water. If you think of someone's name is written on the water, what does it mean? Can you write someone's name on the water? This is the beauty of romantics. He says something like that. Here lies the one whose name is written on the water. So what does it mean? The water will come and just wipe away your name, even if you try to write down your name. Right? So this is this is how Keats just trying to explain what his works mean. But later on, still we remember Keats. And then you come with the late romantics, Byron. Byron was someone who broke all the rules. No more nature anymore. It's Shah Rukh Khan and Kajol. This time he just broke all the rules. He came up with another thing right now. You'll be finding that chivalry love. So these are all the poets of the romantics. Do you get me?
Yes.
So this is the nature. So in the next class, we'll be trying to, we'll be starting with John Denver, I think. Have you heard the name of the John Denver? He was a singer, actually. So we'll be starting with John Denver. And then because John Denver was someone, if you ever heard of his song, I don't know, because when I used to listen to music, John Denver, I think he's from 1980s actually. So his song will be like, his song is beautiful because he didn't sing it for his beloved. He's singing for the nature. He's singing because he's longing for his home. So something different. So we'll be starting with John Denver in the next class, and I'll be trying to connect you with like what romanticism actually means in the next class. Okay? But this is the brief, like how all the poets are going to work on and how you are going to anticipate them as well. Meaning, like how you should approach to Keats. Because when you're reading Keats, make sure that what's the philosophy of the Keats. Because Keats is also changing. When you're reading Byron, you need to understand Byron is completely someone like who broke all the rules of the Romantic movement. Because he brought he brought the human love as well. But if you read William Wordsworth, Coleridge, and Keats, and Shelley, there is no human love. It's all love for the nature and God. Clear? So there is a shift. There's a shifting of the ideas from poets to poets. Do you get me, everyone? So the question will be coming like, so who are the romantics? Romantic period, and what were the ideas of like how it started to change? Starting with the William Blake, how William Blake's idea has been changed by whom? Wordsworth and Coleridge. Then how the ideas of Wordsworth and Coleridge have been shifted by whom? Shelley, Keats, and Byron. And they have all different ideas, but they are all romantics. Clear? You get me? Thank you so much. Can we just stop the video?